Okay, we're picking up where we left off yesterday with the path of oxygen and CO2 throughout your entire respiratory system. So we're going to begin with the path of oxygen. Do we need oxygen or do we produce oxygen? Which one? We need it. So where do we get the oxygen from? Let's start with atmosphere. The space between you and I, you and your neighbor to your left or your right, that is the atmosphere. After oxygen is in the atmosphere, and by the way, I want you to imagine that we're trying to get oxygen into the cells in your brain, the cells in your feet, and the cells everywhere in between. We need to get the oxygen into your body, into your tissues. So we're starting in the atmosphere. What is the next stop for oxygen to go? Okay. Huh? Well, you got to tell me how it gets in your body. Does it go through your eyeballs? Do you breathe with your eyes? And then where?
Your blood?
No. So you breathe air into your nose and then it goes in your blood.
Your lungs.
Ah, your lungs. After oxygen is in your lungs, where does it go next, Nikita? Blood. A fun fact I'm going to teach you guys tomorrow. I'll kind of give away the secret. The tissue in your alveoli is so thin that the piece of paper that you are writing on now is 15 times thicker than the tissue in your lungs. It is so thin that gas is able to diffuse in and out of your blood. It's simple squamous epithelium, one layer of flattened cells. That's all it is between your air sacs and your bloodstream. That's it. It is your pieces of paper are 15 times thicker than the layer of tissue that's in your air sacs. It has to be thin enough to let gases diffuse in and out. So now that oxygen is in your blood and it's circulating throughout your entire body, what's the fourth and final stop? Sebastian? Where does oxygen go after it's been in your blood and it's circulating throughout your body? What is the destination? Tissues and cells. Sebastian, what happens to any part of your body that doesn't get oxygen? Are the bottom of your feet made of cells and tissues? Do the cells and tissues in the bottom of your feet need oxygen? How do they get it? Where does the blood get the oxygen from? And where does the lungs get the oxygen from? That's it. So now, refer to your notes from yesterday. Can you tell me what step of breathing does oxygen go from the atmosphere to your lungs? Look at your notes from yesterday. Caitlin? Pulmonary ventilation. But there's two steps to pulmonary ventilation. There's inspiration and expiration. We are talking about oxygen. So is this going to be the inspiration stage or the expiration stage? This is inspiration. Oxygen is coming in. Okay. How about lungs to blood, Mackenzie? What step is that? Where the gas diffuses from your air sacs into your lungs. External respiration. We call it external because technically the gas is in the atmosphere in a way because your lungs are directly connected to the atmosphere. All right. And then this next step is all by itself. Lance, how does the blood moving oxygen throughout your entire body is known as what step? Transport. Yep. We're just going to say transport. And then Madison, the last step. Blood is going to deposit oxygen into your cells and tissues so they can do cell respiration and not die. What step is this? Internal respiration. Great. So that is the pathway of oxygen. Let's do the opposite. The path of carbon dioxide. Do we need carbon dioxide or do we produce it? Since you guys were little freshmen in biology, you were taught cell respiration. And in cell respiration, you need oxygen and glucose, and you produce water, carbon dioxide, and ATP. Carbon dioxide is a byproduct. It is waste. Get rid of it. Where is the carbon dioxide produced? In your cells and your tissues and cells. Okay. You want to get this out of your body. What is the next stop for the carbon dioxide once it's been produced in your cells and tissues? Alex, where does the CO2 go? After it's been produced by your tissues and cells, where does it go? Yes. Are the cells in your feet making carbon dioxide right now? So the cells in your feet are not using oxygen and going through cell respiration? They need oxygen, but what are they producing? So your feet are producing CO2. How are you going to get the CO2 out of there? The bloodstream. And where is the blood going to take that CO2? To the lungs. And once it's diffused into the lungs, where are your lungs going to transport the CO2? That's right. You got to get it out. If you were to retain CO2 in your blood, the pH level of your blood goes down. It goes down. This is a test question. If the pH level is going down, does that make your blood more acidic or more basic? Acidic. It's called acidosis. If your blood is too acidic, it's not going to go well for your organs and your other muscles. All right. So, what is the stage of breathing in which CO2 is transported from your tissues and cells to your blood? What would this be? Internal respiration. How about, I skipped one again, my fault. How about when it's just being moved about in your blood? That's the transport. And then the blood transports it from your blood to your lungs. What's that stage? External respiration. And then the last step, the lungs deposit that CO2 out of your body and into the atmosphere for all the plants and the autotrophs. What is this step? What part? Expiration. There you go. That's pretty much all of it. You inhale, pulmonary ventilation, internal or external respiration, transport, internal respiration, then you exhale. That's going to be internal respiration, transport, external respiration, pulmonary ventilation, expiration. Okay. All right, everybody. Let's get into the upper respiratory system anatomy. If you have a sore throat or a runny nose, you have an upper respiratory issue. It's not a whole lot, just your nose, your sinuses, and your pharynx. That's about it. So let's talk about your nose first. Your nose is the only visible part of your entire respiratory system. When you close your mouth, I mean, we can't see inside, but we can see your nose and we can see up your nostrils, all your boogers in your hair. There's no covering that up. Your nose has 5 functions. The best the class has done today is named 4 out of 5. My last class was only able to do 3 out of 5. Let's see if you guys can at least get 4. The 5 functions of your nose. Anybody want to take a shot? Nikita?
Filters the air.
Okay, that's it. Filters and cleans. Inspired, which means inhaled, air. Everybody has that room in their house where the sunlight at a specific time of the day hits the window perfectly. You can see all the hair and the dust just kind of floating in the air. You've all been there. You've seen it. I know I have it in my house. And it just kind of, you're breathing that in. You are inhaling. You might not think you are, but you are. Dog hair, skin flakes, dust, all of it. Your nose, your mucus, your nose hair, the cilia in your throat is meant to capture all that so you don't get it all clogged up in your lungs. All right, 1 down, 4 to go. What else you got? What is your nose good for? Okay.
Smelling.
Okay. It houses olfactory receptors. Remember that olfactory means smelling. Two down, 3 to go. Kylie, do you have one? Purpose of your nose. Yeah, I mean, breathing, right. Provides an airway for respiration. This is where last class got stalled. Amara? That's respiration, in and out. Sebastian? Okay, very good. It moistens and warms entering air. Guys, your body is humid. You are like a walking, talking Florida during the summertime. It is 98.6 degrees in your body, and 70% of your body is water. So it is humid. When you inhale dry, cold air, your body doesn't like that. And so it moistens it and it warms it up. Furthermore, the cilia that's in your sinuses, the microscopic hairs that are brushing back and forth with all the mucus, all the snot in your mouth and your nose, it slows down when the air is cold. And that cilia is supposed to catch that mucus so it doesn't leak out of your nose when it's warm. When it's warm out, you seldom have a runny nose. But when it's cold out, the cilia gets chilly and it doesn't work as well. And it doesn't stop all the mucus from leaking out of your nose. And that's why when it gets cold out, sometimes you get a runny nose because the cilia can't catch it all. The cilia becomes sluggish. All right, last one. Anybody want to take a guess before I say it? Anna Sophia? That's going to be the whole filtering part of it. Yeah. Yes. Yes. So when I say, here's my normal voice. Hi, Kylie. Then here we go with my nose pitch. Hi, Kylie. Sounds different. Alex, what's going on today? You doing practice today? It sounds weird. So it actually is a resonating chamber for speech. Okay, your nose has 2 parts. You have your external nose, the part that some people like to pierce. Unfortunately, the part that tends to get cancer quite often. I will show you some pictures of people without their nose. And I'll show you a video of a woman with a prosthetic nose where she has some magnets drilled into her skull and the nose just kind of snaps on. Yeah. Your external nose has nostrils. Another name for nostrils is nares. And it is made of bone. The bones that are found in your nose are your frontal bone and the nasal bone. And it's made of hyaline cartilage. It is mostly cartilage, which is why when you actually look at a human skull, you don't see a nose. You see an opening. Would you like to see a person's face without a nose on it? Kenzie, you sound very enthused. I'll show you guys some of this. And in a lot of cancer centers, like Moffitt, for instance, in the head and neck department, there's a lot of instances of people that have cancer and they had to have their nose completely removed because the cancer can spread to other parts of their face and it can actually do more damage. So you got to, cut off the nose to save the face. So let's take a look. See what I can find here. Here we go. So here's Hugh Jackman, Wolverine, The Greatest Showman, Les Miserables, Australian actor. He's had several scares of skin cancer. It's mostly been on his nose. And he goes on Instagram and other social media and says, "Hey, hello, my name's Hugh Jackman. I've had skin cancer on my nose. Don't worry, they've removed it, but be sure you wear your sunscreen." It can be very scary because, let's see, where's somebody I can show you? There we go. Lost a nose and eye to cancer. You would think it would, and yes, Sebastian, it likely does. There's another one. And so what do you do when you have this? I mean, people would probably not feel very comfortable going out in public with an unusual hole in their face. So if you're watching this on YouTube, I'm going to show a video here of a woman's prosthetic nose. I'm not going to show this video on Zoom because YouTube videos on Zoom just don't work well. So I'm going to pause to share here, but if you want to type in woman's life-changing magnetic nose prosthetic. Here we go. So prosthetic nose. She can't really blow her nose, guys, because if she were to go, her whole nose will come off. I know it might sound a little silly, but it's true. She tries to do like, there goes the nose. So you have to take it off and, clean it out. All right. Let's get people back on with us now. Okay. So let's continue. The inside of your nose is going to be the nasal cavity. It's actually much larger than your oral cavity, which is your mouth. It is posterior to your nose. What does posterior mean? Behind. It is divided by a nasal, what do you call that thing that divides your left and right nostrils? Septum. You have a septum in your heart, separates your left and right sides of your heart. You have a septum in your nose too. This septum is made of vomer bone, which is one of your 14 facial bones, and the ethmoid bone, as well as cartilage. And I have a little test for you guys to determine if you have a deviated septum. How many of you have had braces before? That's just, me too. It just goes to show that we are born with imperfections. It's just variation. Everybody's different. And just to try to look more normal, we tend to get braces so our teeth can be straight. And, it's just kind of like fitting in with society. Everybody wants to fit in. That's why we get braces. Well, a deviated septum is something you can hide better than your teeth. It is possible to get it straightened out. You get a rhinoplasty, you get a nose job. You can have it straightened or corrected. But just like people are born with crooked teeth or an overbite or an underbite, people are born with deviated septums. Has anyone here ever actually broken their nose? How'd you do it, Lily? Cheerleading?
No, a car door.
So you've only broken it once? Yeah, I've broken mine 3 times. Lucky I can still breathe. But here's how you can check it. I know it's pollen season, and some of you might be congested 24/7, so don't blow snot everywhere by doing this. But I want you to close one nostril and breathe out the other. Push air out, expirate, and then do the opposite. Close the other nostril and push air out. If you noticed that it is easier to push air out of one nostril versus the other, you may have a deviated septum. You might be congested, but let's just say for the sake of this demonstration that you are not snotty, you're not congested, you're not having allergies right now. And if you still have trouble breathing out of one nostril versus the other, you might have a deviated septum. A lot of people are born with it. All right, next one. We have seromucous glands. Makes your nose all slimy. They secrete mucus, which we lovingly call snot. What is the purpose of snot in mucus? What is it supposed to do? It has a job. It traps debris, bacteria, and dust. What color should your snot be? Nope. Clear. It should be clear. I'll try to get a list like of the different colors of snot and what it means. Green, white, yellow, brown, red, black. I'll show you what all that means. Okay. Huh? Debris, bacteria, and dust.
Is this one still part of the nose?
Yes, this is still the nose. In the last part of your nose, you have the paranasal sinuses. The paranasal sinuses line your nasal cavity. It's what makes your nasal cavities warm and moist. Have any of you ever been in cold weather and just you get a runny nose out of nowhere? The reason why is because your body is used to warm, moist air, but when you're inhaling cold air, oftentimes cold air is dry. And the cilia, the little microscopic hairs in your sinuses that are supposed to catch mucus that you produce and keep the mucus in your sinuses, they get sluggish. They actually get cold, and they're not able to keep the mucus in your sinuses, and some of the mucus actually leaks out of your nose, and you have a runny nose. So it's literally your cilia is chilly and they can't work as well as when it's warm. You very seldom, I've never heard of anybody having a runny nose because it's too hot out. They get a runny nose because it's cold out. The cilia get sluggish in your sinuses. All right, everyone. And the last part of your upper respiratory system is the back of your throat. Anybody know what this is called? Your pharynx with a PH. Ever since I was in school, I've always gotten pharynx and larynx confused. I want to make sure you guys don't fall into that same trap. Your pharynx is the top of your throat. If you've ever had pharyngitis, you have a sore throat. Itis means inflammation. The pharynx connects the nasal cavity and the mouth. So if you've ever hawked a loogie before, you snort snot up in your sinuses, you hawk it up in your throat, and you spit it out of your mouth. It's all connected. You ever done that, Nikita? Are you pretty good at hawking loogies? We're going to do a little drawing here in a minute. Actually, let's do it right now. So I want to see if you guys can draw. We're going to do a little rough sketch. We're going to try to draw the sinuses and the pharynx together, okay? So if you are not an expert drawer, it's okay. I've got your back. Let's take it step by step. I want you to draw a nose like this. There's a nose. If you are an expert drawer, you don't need to wait for me. I want you to draw a sagittal plane of a face or a head. There's the forehead. There's the back of the head. There's the chin and the lips. There's the neck. My fifth period wanted to make Gru from Despicable Me, so we just did this. So there you go. There's Gru. You don't have to make Gru, but knock yourself out. Gru got a nose job. All right. Now, let's draw some of the cavities. There's your nasal cavity. There's your oral cavity. They meet at the pharynx. And then you have a fork in the road. A fork means you can go one way or the other. This is where your esophagus and your trachea separate. Let's just do one thing at a time. Okay. This is your nasal cavity. You also have this on the handout that I gave you today as well. You can label it as we go. You don't have to. You have the handout that I gave you, but this is what we're doing. Here's your oral cavity, also known as your mouth. And now, guys, pay attention to this. All of this that I'm highlighting in blue, this is all technically considered your pharynx, but your pharynx has three parts. And we're going to identify what those three parts are. But everything that I lined in blue is part of the back of your throat. That's your pharynx. So let's identify the three parts of your pharynx. This part here is called your nasopharynx. It is the most superior portion of your pharynx. What do I mean by the most superior? The topmost or the uppermost. What should pass through your nasopharynx? Food, air, or both? Yeah, food should not be going up your nose. Oh, you laugh now. Wait till you see what I have to show you. Now, as you all can clearly see, your mouth and your nose are connected. So I'm going to pause the recording here. We'll go back to the picture. I'm going to pause the recording, but before I do, I want you guys at home, if you're watching this, you can type into Google, spaghetti noodle up the nose and out the mouth. Remastered. Okay, here's the next one. We just watched a kid put spaghetti up his nose and out of his mouth. This is your oropharynx.
Are the different ones labeled on the diagram?
I think they might be. I'm not entirely sure. That's why we're doing this. This is a passageway for food and air, and we're considering liquid like water as food. If it goes in your stomach, we're just going to call it food. Now, guys, you saw that kid put spaghetti up his nose. Why did he not put the spaghetti in his mouth first and then out of his nose? You can't do that because there's something in your mouth that prevents food from going up into your nasopharynx. What's that little punching bag? The uvula, UVULA. That uvula, and that might be on your diagram. I don't know. Your uvula prevents food from going up your nose. Now, every now and then, you might be listening to someone at lunch telling you a joke and you squirt milk out your nose. That's liquid. It's kind of different, but you're not supposed to shoot hamburger meat or hot dogs out of your nose. Yes, Caitlin. I figured. Okay, so there are, liquid might be able to get by, but food, not so much.
But it's the same hole that the noodle in, right?
Yeah. All right, and then down here, last one. This is your laryngopharynx. The third and final part of your pharynx is a passageway for food and air. Hold on. It's a passageway for food and air. And also, it is where the pharynx divides into what two tubes in your neck? Your esophagus and your trachea. Which one is your digestive system? Yep. Which one's in the front or anterior? Is your windpipe anterior or is your esophagus anterior? Your trachea is in the front. What do we call this thing in most guys' throats? You can see Adam's apple. That's the top of your larynx. That's your voice box, and that's part of your trachea. So your voice box is the top of your trachea, and that's in the front of your neck. Why is it not visible in girls? Okay, well, hold that thought. We're gonna get to that. Okay, now that we have that done, let's get to the lower respiratory system. The lower respiratory system consists of two zones, and we're going to get your drawing pencil out because we're going to do a little bit more. So if you struggle drawing, just follow me. Hopefully you'll make something look really nice in your notes, okay? Here we go. Draw that first. I don't know. Just you be the judge. What's this? Yep. What's that? The bronchi. Brachy means shoulder. Booyah! Look at that. Not too shabby. Give you guys a moment to catch up. Oh, this is the right lung. This is the left lung. Why is the left one smaller in a different shape? The heart fits right in between. Okay, we have just a few minutes left, less than 5 minutes. So I want to get these two zones highlighted. All right. One of the zones is called the conducting zone. The conducting zone is how air is transported to the site of gas exchange. I've said this a few times already today. Where is the site of gas exchange? Where does oxygen go into your blood and where does CO2 go into your lungs? Where, Kylie? The alveoli. I want you guys to say that with me. It's really important. Where is gas exchange? Alveoli. What gas is sent to your blood? What gas is sent to your lungs? Good. It's like a prisoner exchange. The blood takes the oxygen, the blood gives up the CO2. I'm going to highlight the conducting zone in yellow. Everything I highlight in yellow is how air gets down to your alveoli. This includes your larynx, trachea, bronchi, and bronchioles. And last one we'll be able to do today is the respiratory zone. The respiratory zone is the site of gas exchange. In 8th period, tell me one more time today, where is the site of gas exchange? Alveoli, also called air sacs. What gas leaves the lungs to the blood? Oxygen. What gas leaves the blood to the lungs? Carbon dioxide. Site of gas exchange. This is going to be alveoli or alveoli. I'm going to highlight this in green. Let's get these highlighted. You ready? Here we go. It's the very tips of the bronchi. That's where the air sacs are. Remember that these are so thin that your paper is 15 times thicker than the tissue that's found in your air sacs. We did not get to the larynx today. We'll have to do that tomorrow. We will do our best to finish anatomy tomorrow.